Welcome to Silly Girl. We're talking about the benefits and mechanisms of psilocybin microdosing. In case you don't know, microdosing means subperceptual doses of psilocybin, which means that you're not seeing monkeys in the trees or dragons in the refrigerator. You can't tell that you've taken it. It doesn't do anything to your mental capacity. It's subperceptual, so you can't perceive any change in how you feel. So we're talking about scientifically and study-wise um, how psilocybin is transforming our understanding of mental health, creativity, and human potential. And we're going to explore microdosing specifically. It's kind of moved from an underground and an experimental type of practice to the forefront of neuroscience these days, and everybody's kind of got it as a buzzword. By the end of these 10 minutes, I hope you'll understand not just what it is, but how it works within your brain. And you'll understand not just what it is as far as mental health is concerned, but how it could work for you as well. Tons and tons of large institutions, medical practices like Johns Hopkins are investing millions in studying the effects of microdosing and psilocybin. So I'm very excited to talk about this today. And so thank you guys for joining us. So let's start with where we are right now. Psilocybin, it's a compound found in magic mushrooms. I know you guys have all heard of those, right? It's undergone a very remarkable transformation. In 2023, 8 million Americans reported using it, and half of them were microdosing. The other options are MIDI, which is a moderate dose, and then macro dosing, which is full-on journey. This isn't happening in the underground as much anymore. Johns Hopkins Medicine has established that the world's first and largest center dedicated to psychedelic research. It's backed by $55 million in private funding. And the FDA has granted psilocybin breakthrough therapy designation for treatment-resistant depression, which means that we're making progress in having this approved by the government to decriminalize it. We're looking at a scientific renaissance here, and microdosing is a huge part of that. So, what exactly is a microdose? Think of it as the difference between taking a therapeutic dose of a medication versus a dose that would sedate you, right? A microdose is typically just about zero point 0.1 or zero point 0.3 grams of dried mushrooms. Wet mushrooms are about 90%. You'd have to take 90% more if you're eating like a raw mushroom. 5 to 10% of that would produce a full psychedelic experience. So that means you'd have to take 1 to 3 grams to get a full psychedelic experience. The defining characteristic is that it's subperceptual. Like I said earlier, you should be able to go to work, have conversations, drive a car, do normal stuff. As the researcher put it, if you see visions, it's not a microdose. What you do experience are subtle but meaningful shifts, clear thinking, better mood, enhanced creativity, and greater emotional balance. And you're not escaping reality. You're basically optimizing your engagement with reality. Does anybody have any questions about this so far? Okay. So now we'll get into how psilocybin works. The fascinating science of how it actually works is it operates through three interconnected mechanisms. First, it's the serotonin system. When you ingest psilocybin, your body converts it into psilocin, which is a molecular structure remarkably similar to serotonin. It's your brain's mood regulator. You guys have all heard of serotonin, I'm sure. This allows it to bind to serotonin receptors, which acts as a master key and it kind of unlocks a cascade of beneficial effects. Recent research has shown psilocin is a potent anti-inflammatory agent. It's huge because we know, neuroinflammation drives many cases of depression, anxiety. It's kind of linked to Alzheimer's as well. So it's a big deal that it has an anti-inflammatory agent in it. Second, it affects the default mode network. And this is your brain's inner critic. It's that little voice in your head that's kind of a jerk, right? And by kind of a jerk, I mean it's a big fat jerk. It says all the mean things to you. It can be retrained to say very nice things to you, but most people's brain is inner critic is kind of a jerk. The network active when you're ruminating, when you're worrying, when you're stuck in negative thought patterns. And in depression, this network becomes hyperactive and rigid. Psilocybin essentially hits the reset button. It decreases connectivity in this network and it allows different brain regions to communicate in new and interesting ways. And this is why people report breakthrough insights and the ability to see their problems from new perspectives. So you can reframe the story that your inner critic is telling you, which is why I said it can be reframed to be a nicer guy. Third, and perhaps the most exciting, is neuroplasticity. Psilocybin doesn't just change your brain function, it changes the brain structure. It activates pathways that promote the growth of new neural connections, and it helps your neurons grow more branches and connection points. So it's like giving your brain a renovation. It creates new pathways for healthier thought patterns, and it lets them form within your brain. It also allows the two halves of your brain communicate with each other in a very unique fashion, which is very, very exciting and cool. The clinical evidence is really compelling. So let me share some landmark findings from Johns Hopkins with you guys, and they are the gold standard of this research. In their depression studies, they found that just 2 doses of psilocybin combined with supportive therapy produced rapid and large reductions in depressive symptoms. 71% of participants showed significant improvement, and 54% achieved full remission, meaning their depression was essentially gone. This wasn't temporary. Follow-up studies showed that these effects lasted up to a year. For smoking cessation, and if you know anybody that's smoked or you've smoked yourself, you know it's one of the hardest things to quit doing. It's very, very addictive. The results are super dramatic. 80% of participants quit smoking at the 6-month follow-up. Compare that to 35% success rate of our best conventional treatment right now, like Chantix or nicotine replacement. For people with life-threatening cancer experiencing existential anxiety, a single psilocybin session provided substantial relief that lasted over 6 months. And this is just the beginning. As of 2025, Johns Hopkins is running clinical trials for opiate addiction, Alzheimer's, PTSD, anorexia, and alcohol use. Now, specific to microdosing, while the research is still emerging, systematic reviews published in 2024 show consistent reports of improved mood, enhanced focus, better creativity, and improved emotional regulation. And users describe being able to access flow states more easily, solve problems more creatively, and maintain emotional balance under stress. Those are important things if you ask me. I think it's super, super cool that they have proven this to be true. Here's why this matters so much. Traditional antidepressants work by artificially boosting serotonin levels. They're essentially propping up a system that's not really functioning properly. And you have to take them every day forever. And even then, 30 to 40% of the people don't respond. So they don't really fix the underlying problem. They're kind of like a band-aid or a numbing agent for the problem. Psilocybin works fundamentally differently. Instead of being like band-aidy, it creates what researchers call a neuroplastic window, a temporary period of heightened brain flexibility where new, healthier neural pathways can form. Back to that rewiring of the brain, guys. You think of it like this. If your brain is a garden and it's been overtaken by weeds of negative thought patterns, traditional antidepressants try to cover up the weeds. Psilocybin gives you the tools to pull them out by the roots and then plant something new, which is super, super fascinating, right? This is why the effects can last so long from just 1 to 2 sessions. You're not really managing symptoms, you're facilitating actual healing and you're rewiring your brain. And it's crucial to know that this works best when combined with therapy or coaching. The psilocybin opens a window. The therapeutic or coaching work is what helps you build something new in that space, right? So the psilocybin is the tool that rips it out by the root, and the therapeutic root is how you replant some new thoughts and ideas in your head. So what does this look like in practice? What are people actually experiencing when they microdose? In terms of mental performance, users are consistently reporting enhanced focus, the ability to dive deep into complex work without distraction. So those of us with ADHD, what a awesome thing for that to be. I get distracted like crazy. Creativity gets a boost with people describing novel solutions to problems they've been stuck on. And many report easier access to flow states and that optimal zone where you're fully immersed and performing at your best. This is ideally the idea behind Adderall, what it's supposed to do, but what Adderall actually does with most people I know is it puts them in this state and then they get cranky and short-tempered. This does not do that. Emotionally, there's a subtle but meaningful elevation in mood, not euphoria, so you're not high, more like the difference between seeing the world through a slightly gray filter versus seeing it in full color. So people report greater emotional resilience, better ability to handle stress, and reduced anxiety and rumination. Relationally, there's often increased empathy and improved communication. So people describe feeling more connected to others, having more authentic conversations, and experiencing less social anxiety. And physically, many report clean, sustained energy without jitters, because a lot of those ADHD medications really leave you jittered and you can't sleep. Better sleep and enhanced mind-body awareness. Now, what I want to be clear, these are reported benefits from user surveys and observational studies. Individual experiences can vary widely, and we need more rigorous placebo-controlled research to confirm all of these effects. But the consistency of these reports across thousands of users is super compelling at this point. Here's something really crucial that often gets overlooked. Psilocybin microdosing is not a magic pill. It's a tool, a very powerful one, but it requires intentional use. Think of it this way. Psilocybin creates a window of opportunity by making your brain more flexible, more receptive to change. But you have to do something with that window. And this is where integration comes in. The most successful outcomes happen when people combine microdosing with intentional practices. This means setting clear intentions before you start. What are you trying to shift? What patterns do you want to release? What new ways of being do you want to cultivate? It also means creating supportive practices like journaling to track insights, meditation to increase self awareness, and ideally working with a therapist or coach who can help you process what's coming up and translate it into insights that you can use. The research is clear on this. The people who get the most benefit from psilocybin, whether microdosing or therapeutic doses, are those who combine it with professional support and integration work. Psilocybin opens the door to neuroplasticity. Therapy and integration coaching are what walk you through it and help you build the new home. Before you guys get all jazzed up about taking a pile of mushrooms, we need to talk about safety and responsible use. The good news is psilocybin has an excellent safety profile. It's non-addictive, it has low toxicity, and has been used safely in hundreds of clinical trials. John Hopkins is published safety guidelines that have been adopted worldwide. It's not for everyone. It's contradicted for people with mental health conditions, certain ones, schizophrenia, bipolar. It can trigger psychotic episodes in those people. It's not recommended during pregnancy or breastfeeding. It can interact with certain medications, especially SSRIs and MAOIs. That's why you should consult with a qualified healthcare provider before using psilocybin. Legally, psilocybin remains a Schedule One federally mandated. I think it's like a narcotic, yes, in most places. And there are some cities and states who have decriminalized it, specifically Oregon and Colorado. And then there's other cities and states throughout America that have decriminalized it as well. And the landscape is evolving rapidly. So you should check into your local laws to see legally what that looks like for you. Mushroom potency varies dramatically. So one mushroom might contain 3 times the psilocybin of another, even from the same batch. And this makes accurate dosing difficult outside of clinical settings where synthesized or standardized products are used. The responsible approach, honestly, is to consult with a healthcare provider, screen for contradictions, source from the most reliable and tested sources available in your jurisdiction, and start with the lowest effective dose for you and work with a professional for integration support. So where is this all headed? The momentum is extraordinary right now. In 2021, Johns Hopkins received the first NIH grant for psychedelic research in 50 years for studying psilocybin and tobacco addiction. Dozens of clinical trials are now underway globally. Here locally, I'm in the Naples, Florida area. There are clinical trials up every day for people for psilocybin use. The VA is currently doing clinical trials for PTSD with veterans. So there's tons of them out there. We're developing standardized protocols and conducting long-term safety studies needed for mainstream acceptance. The FDA has granted psilocybin breakthrough therapy designation, which fast tracks development. There's serious discussion about rescheduling it from a Schedule One narcotic. That's going on currently. Oregon and Colorado, as I mentioned earlier, have legalized therapeutic use, and other states are following suit. Clinically, we're seeing the infrastructure develop. Ketamine clinics have popped up everywhere. They're showing that psychedelic assisted therapy can be delivered safely and professionally. And psilocybin therapy centers are opening all over the place. Training programs are emerging. We're moving towards integration into mainstream like use. The vision is a future where psilocybin microdosing is a scientifically validated, professionally supported tool, not a fringe practice and not something you go in the woods and do with your friends. A legitimate option for mental health, creativity, and human flourishing. It's accessible to those who can benefit with proper safeguards, medical oversight, and integration support. We're not there quite yet, but we're closer than we've ever been at this point, and I'm very, very excited about that. So this microdosing, it represents a paradigm shift in how we think about mental health and human potential. It's not about escaping reality. It's about engaging with it more fully with a brain that's more flexible, resilient, and alive. If at any point you guys want resources for further learning, the Johns Hopkins Center for Psychedelic and Conscientious Research is a good place to go. The Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, which is called MAPS, is a great place to go. You may want to talk to your healthcare provider for personalized guidance. They're not all well versed in it, just to be fair, but it might be worth a conversation there as well. Um, Psilocybin microdosing really represents a fundamental paradigm shift in how we approach mental health and human potential. And for decades, we've treated mental illness by trying to suppress the symptoms. And we offer something different with microdosing, the possibility of actual healing through neuroplasticity and helping the brain rewire itself. If this resonates with you at all, I encourage you to learn more, explore the research from Johns Hopkins or other leading institutions, and most importantly, if you're considering this path, you can consult with a qualified healthcare provider who can guide you safely. Does anybody have any questions about anything I just said?
So if I was gonna, I know if I went to my doctor, they would be like, they wouldn't say anything. I don't really want to talk to Johns Hopkins and I don't know where MAPS is. Is there anyone local that could help me find my path,
Sure,
understand more?
that's me. I'm
Oh,
local.
really? Oh, nice.
I do integration coaching for people who want to do the integration work. I also do microdose coaching for anybody that wants to microdose. We don't provide drugs to people, just to be clear, but we do coach you through if you're deciding to go ahead and do microdose, where to get it, and the effects afterwards so that you can utilize all these tools. We put together a plan for you so you can utilize the tools to do the integration work so you can make it a powerful mechanism for you. Where can you find clinical trials? Well, Adriana, they are on Facebook, oddly enough, but you can actually search on Google. Maps list them. If you go to their website, there's tons and tons of them on Maps. I've seen them, but I was being funny about Facebook, but it's true. I've seen them advertising these clinical trials on Facebook itself, in an advertising aspect. Yeah, it's goofy. And then there's a whole slew of psychedelic conferences as well. And sometimes they talk about the different clinical trials as well. Do you guys have any more questions? You're welcome. And Adrian, I saw that you wrote on your meetup notes that you might want to talk more in depth about a few things. If you want to schedule a call with me, I can hit you up in Meetup and give you a link. I do free consultation calls for anybody that wants to have a consultation call with me, and I can send you a link to schedule that, and we can talk through your questions there. Awesome. I'll get that link out there this evening to you so you can get that set up. Any other questions, anybody? Awesome, ladies. Thank you guys so much for joining. I hope this was informational. I know I talk fast. I'm working on it. I am such a chatterbox. I'm like a squirrel monkey. I just go blah, 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 blah. So bear with me, and I appreciate your patience. And if anybody wants the notes or anything shared from this, if you want to revisit that, you can hit me up in Meetup, and I will gladly share this information with you, and you can read through it yourself. And thanks, Bella, for all the love and support, you guys. I appreciate you. And at any point, any of you can reach out to me, and I'm happy, like I said, to do a consultation call, talk you through any questions you have. Um, it's private. I do it on Signal, so it's completely private, and you can ask all the questions, and I am happy to help you. So I hope you ladies have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much for joining our meetup.
Thank you.
Thank you.